This is Molly Hemingway of The Federalist, inviting you to join me for the 2026 Issues, Etc. Making the Case Conference, Friday, June 12th and Saturday, June 13th at Concordia University, Chicago. I'll be speaking and signing copies of my new book, Alito, the Justice Who Reshaped the Supreme Court and Restored the U.S. Constitution. Learn more at issuesetc.org. issuesetc.org.
The emperor has no clothes on. He's buck naked. That child had to speak the truth no matter how it would make the king feel. And we have to do that today. We have to be very conscientious objectors to the madness that is gender ideology.
And most people default into this idea of feminism is this idea that men are contemptible, which is, of course, the idea behind the smashing the patriarchy, and women need to be just like them and have the same equality.
The Crusades were a very belated response to many centuries of Muslim conquests, in which 2/3 of the old Christian world had already fallen to Muslim conquest.
And our faith is strong, not because of the fervor of its affection, but because of the object to which it clings, Christ. And there is no stronger faith than a really timid grasping to the suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus.
Families sailing on their family vacation on lakes in Minnesota love Issues, Etc.
We love Issues, Etc. Woo!
Somehow, the general impression is given that clergy are a little bit scared to speak about controversial issues, especially if they're considered in any way whatsoever to have a political side to them, one of those being abortion. But if you actually look at the numbers, that does not appear to be true. Welcome back to Issues, Etc. I'm Todd Wilkin. Thanks for tuning us in live on this Thursday afternoon, the 4th of June. We're going to talk about a new poll on clergy addressing social issues, including abortion, with Dr. Michael New. Then Dr. Thomas Abaddon, author of the book, The Concise History of the Crusades, joins us for part 2 of our series with him on the Crusades. Dr. Michael New is visiting assistant professor of social research and political science at the Catholic University of America, senior associate scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, Page Comstock Cunningham Fellow with Americans United for Life, and a columnist for National Review Online. Dr. New, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
What did you find in a recent Pew Research Center survey on political messages churchgoers are hearing?
Yeah, churchgoers hear about a pretty wide range of political and policy topics from clergy. They hear about Israel, immigration, transgender issues, the environment. But the top issue, the issue they were most likely to hear about, was actually that of abortion. So people go to church are pretty likely to hear about abortion from clergy members, and very often it is a pro-life message.
Who are most likely to hear pro-life messages?
The religious groups that kind of report being most likely to hear a pro-life message are Catholics. 49% of Catholics who say they attend Mass at least monthly reported hearing a message about abortion from a clergy member during the past 3 months. So Catholics were pretty highly ranked. 43% of white evangelicals who attend church at least monthly also reported hearing about abortion from a clergy member.
Who would be the least likely to hear?
Least likely, only 18% of white non-evangelicals reported hearing about abortion from a clergy member, and only about 20% of black Protestants. But interestingly, when these groups did hear about abortion, it was still usually a pro-life message. They just heard about it less often.
What do you think these survey numbers mean then?
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I think my experience is somewhat typical. I'm Catholic, and I've been going to Mass for a long time. And for most of my kind of adult life, I didn't hear much about abortion directly at church. But I think with the Dobbs decision, that changed. The issue is a lot more salient than it used to be. And I think churchgoers are talking about it or hearing about it a lot more often. I also think that this current generation of clergy, at least especially younger clergy, tend to be a lot more theologically conservative. And I think they're talking about abortion more often, a pro-life message more often, and that's a good development.
From your perspective, why is it necessary for pro-lifers to hear pro-life messages from their clergy?
Well, it's important because abortion is a political issue. It's a moral issue. Clergy are still very culturally important, but one of the few places people do hear about church teachings is actually when they attend church. If church members don't hear about it, they may not think abortion is really that important an issue. But when clergy members talk about it, it raises a salience that makes church members realize that this really is, in fact, an important issue that we should all care about.
Talk more generally about the role of churches and clergy in the pro-life movement as a whole.
Churches and clergy have always played a very outsized role. I mean, the Roman Catholic Church, came out very strongly against Roe v. Wade, but came down in 1973. Many evangelical churches got very involved in the pro-life movement in the 1970s. There are great evangelicals like Francis Schaeffer. His book, How Should We Live Our Lives? The book and the movie really inspired many. So churches have always played a very, very outsized role. It's great that this poll has come out and showing that people actually do hear a pro-life message from their clergy, at least fairly often.
How influential do you think someone like Richard John Newhouse was, a Lutheran of my stripe turned Roman Catholic, when he, on several occasions, opined that abortion was the civil rights issue of our generation?
Well, I think Richard John Newhouse, played a very big role. I think he certainly was one of the kind of intellectual architects of social conservatism. His magazine, First Things, was very influential to a lot of conservative Roman Catholics. I think he really did play a key role in giving, pro-life movement, a lot of good arguments, a lot of legitimacy, and really, I think, did highlight to a lot of Roman Catholics why abortion is an important issue and why the pro-life movement is important and worth supporting.
Dr. Michael New is visiting assistant professor of social research and political science at the Catholic University of America, senior associate scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, Paige Comstock Cunningham Fellow with Americans United for Life, and a columnist for National Review Online. You can read his columns on the Talk On Demand archives page at issuesetc.org. Dr. New, thanks.
Thanks, much appreciated.
Lutherans for Life equips Lutherans and their neighbors to be gospel-motivated voices for life through their quarterly Life Date Journal, national and regional conferences, frontline conference calls, and more. Lutheransforlife.org, Lutheransforlife.org. Dr. Thomas Madden joins us for part 2 of our series on the Crusades next.
Before adopting the Constitution, our forefathers wanted to ensure that the right to speak freely and the right not only to personally believe, but also to affirmatively exercise one's religious beliefs in both public and private spheres would be protected.
Erin Hawley of Alliance Defending Freedom talking about her presentation at this year's Issues Etc. Making the Case Conference.
One of the most pressing issues of our day, indeed one of the most pressing issues of history, is how do we treat the most vulnerable among us? The youngest, the weakest, the most defenseless. The answer is clear. Every single child is made in the image of God, priceless, beyond value, and deserving of protection.
You can meet and hear Erin Hawley making the case for life, a First Amendment imperative, at the 2026 Making the Case Conference, June 12th and 13th at Concordia University, Chicago. Learn more at issuesetc.org.
Defending life from beginning to end. You're listening to Issues, Etc.
The Lutheran Church Missouri Synod's Life Ministry cares for pregnant women sharing the love of Christ. Listen to Pastor Ed DeWitt with Redeeming Life Outreach Ministries.
One of the first residents we had said to me, "Pastor, why do you do this?" And I said, "Just stick with me through this class, and when we're done, you'll understand completely." Many of the women, as they go through the instruction, when we get to that part about baptism, they're like, "Pastor, I want that for my baby. I want my baby to be adopted into God's family."
God's Mission Here, lcms.org/national mission.
This is Molly Hemingway, encouraging you to listen to my favorite podcast, Issues, Etc. Every day you get in-depth interviews with host Todd Wilkin asking expert guests substantive, thought-provoking questions on all of the important news and issues of our day. The expert guests are in culture, law, ethics, philosophy, theology, and apologetics. Expert guests, expansive topics, always extolling Christ. Issues, Etc.
Teaching the great books helps grow students' love for what is good, true, and beautiful. That's why Memoria Press publishes literature guides for students in 1st through 12th grades. These user-friendly guides teach students to contemplate classic novels so that they may grow in wisdom. Learn more at memoriapress.com. Save $5 when you enter the coupon code LPR26MP. Memoria Press, saving Western civilization one student at a time.
Did you know that we send out an email each week that details upcoming show topics? It's available for you to include in your weekly church bulletin. Just click the Issues Etc. Journal logo at our homepage, issuesetc.org, and sign up to receive the church bulletin blurb. It's an easy way to invite your fellow parishioners to listen to Issues Etc. issuesetc.org. Look for the Issues Etc. Journal logo and register to receive a weekly bulletin paragraph from Issues Etc.